Hey everyone, welcome to LayerWP.com. It's my first ever review. My name's Ben, by the way. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Novashare plugin, which is a social sharing plugin, but it's geared towards being as lightweight as humanly possible. Now, the people behind Novashare are Brian Lee Jackson. Some of you may recognize him if you're in the WordPress world, and his brother Brett Jackson. Now, these two have worked on quite a few different bits and bobs in terms of plugins. They actually built the Perf Matters performance plugin, which I've used before, and is pretty darn good, in fairness. It's got some great feedback, and it really can help make your website run that little bit quicker. So obviously with Novashare, I was quite keen to get involved, find out, based on their experience of speeding up WordPress websites using Perf Matters. I thought it would be interesting to see how much of how good Novashare could be based on their previous endeavors. Now, to the uninitiated, adding social sharing buttons to a WordPress powered website can be a bit of a nightmare, especially when it comes to page load, that sort of thing. You don't want social media plugins adding God knows how many icons and load of them on every instance of your WordPress powered website. So the idea of this plugin is to streamline things down, make social sharing easy, and most of all, make it very, very lightweight. You can see a claim here, under 5 kilobytes on the front end, which is incredibly low compared to other plugins that are floating around at the moment on either premium or free ones. Quite a lot of them do add quite a lot of page bloat. So it'll be interesting to see if that stacks up, that claim. There's also support for sharing counts, works on all devices, and there's a click to tweet block, which I'll cover as well. So that's the intro for Novashare. Next up, we're going to install the plugin. I'm going to go through how it works, the features, and how much weight will it actually add to to your blog. We'll find out soon. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. So right now I'm going to install a Novashare plugin. I've downloaded it from novashare.io, the website itself. In full, complete and utter transparency, I asked for a review copy of Novashare. So this is my take. I haven't been paid for this review at all, but it's my impressions, and we'll go through absolutely everything. If I spot a fault, I'll tell you. If it's good, I'll tell you. Right, first things first, I'm going to do is add new. And I'm just going to upload the plugin. I've got it on a separate screen. I'm just going to find it now. And I'm just going to drag that in and install that. Right, that's that done. I'm going to activate the plugin. And I'm going to activate my license. I'm going to paste in my key and hit save. That should work. Hey, oh, don't see that. Okay, so installed, done. I'm going to take a look at what's next. We're going to go through some features and what else can it do. We're going to cover absolutely everything. So I'll see you in a mo, and we'll go through the tools and we'll go through the options. We'll see firsthand how it works, and maybe if it's got some features that could be of benefit to you. See you in a bit. Okay, first up is the tools section. It's here. You can you've got a few options. We can clean, uninstall. So if you for whatever reason want to get rid of the plugin and want to delete every single trace of it, then you could click that button or click that switch, and when you save the changes, if you go to uninstall, it will take absolutely everything out. Accessibility mode. This is quite cool. If you click on this and click save changes, you'll start to see text underneath. So for those that use screen readers, that sort of thing, they'll be able to tell what each individual setting does, which is a really nice, cool feature and it's nice to actually see that be part of the actual plugin. There's a lot of plugins that don't do that or forget about it. Export settings. So if you've got you know, a set way of doing things or set colors for buttons and that sort of thing, you can export them and import them into another website or another installation of Novashare, which is really cool as well. So there's a few different options here. I like the accessibility side of things. That's quite key. Like I say, a lot of plugins don't do that. So tools is pretty much done. Nice, quick, simple and easy. Next up, we're going to go into the options, but I'll go through that in a second with you. Okay, so hopping over to the options tab, we've got 4 different sections here. First one really I want to cover is configuration, as this one's quite important. First up, we've got a minimum share count. So here you can set a total minimum share count threshold to actually reach before share counts are actually displayed. So if you think hypothetically you've got a post and you really don't want to display the fact it's only been shared twice, you could set this to 5, or you know, enter a number value in there of 10. So it will only show the total share count if it hits 10 and above, which is really cool. Twitter counts. This is really nice. I like this feature. When you hover over the question marks, it gives you more information on what each actual section does. Now, Twitter got rid of their social sharing counts a while ago now, and it's been the boon of many bloggers' lives. It's always nice to see the share count on Twitter. Now, Novashare uses twit counts to actually enable this. So enabling Twitter counts, and the description here takes you to twit count. Here you have to sign up via Twitter, use your account that you're using, and input your URL. Once that's done, what will happen is, once it's done and activated, any posts that are shared on your WordPress powered website using Novashare, from that future point on, will have a count against the Twitter button or the tweet button. It's quite easy and simple to set up. I actually have this used on my blog on LayerWP.com. Feel free to pop by and have a look at it. I have actually got it activated and working. I'm not going to go through this in particular because it is actually really easy to set up. I'm going to skip it. There's complete documentation, excuse me, and lose my voice, on Novashare on how to get it set up anyway. So it's quite nice and simple to get going. It's probably going to take you 5 minutes. Okay, next up is your Twitter username. This will be used on any time people share your content on using the Twitter icon. It'll add your username, so I'm going to put mine in there. It's Ben's Right, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, please do. Next up, we've got Facebook app ID. I'm not going to get too involved in this. Again, there are clear instructions on how to set up Facebook on the actual Novashare website. I'm not going to go too much into it, but here you can put your ID of the actual app, the secret, that sort of thing. Now, you can enable or disable Open Graph using on Novashare. Up to you what you want to do. I leave it open. This is the refresh rate of the share count. So if you want the plugin to refresh every periodically, so it keeps your share counts fresh and active, and you can see how many shares you're having. At the moment, it's set on high, and as you can see, high is every 3 hours. Now you can change this to medium, low, or high. The default is high. I'm just going to leave it as high. Purging shared accounts. If you want to get rid of all your existing share accounts from your database, this is the button you press. It will completely wipe out any accounts that have been accumulated over time. Google Analytics, this is really cool. If you want to add some tracking so you can see how well your social media accounts fare, how they perform using Google Analytics, you can input a campaign name and also a campaign medium and a campaign name, so you can track all your social media sharing buttons and see how they fare, which is really cool, especially if you've got a big blog or you've got a team of people that are tasked with social media accounts. They can track and see how good the content is and how many times it's been shared. Link shortening, if you use something like Bitly, you can enable Bitly here, add your access token and a group. I don't use Bitly, so it'll be a waste of time me covering this. To be honest with you, if you use it, you'll know what you're doing. Okay, so that's the configuration element set. I'm going to knock out a couple of settings on this. I'm just going to save it. Next up, we're going to look at the click to tweet, the floating bar, and the inline content. Welcome back. Now we're going to look at the click to tweet settings. Very simple. This is going to take about 40 seconds, if that. I will show you I'll show you in practice. But here with the click to tweet button, we've got 3 different options, and in the first one we can select the default theme, simple, or a simple alternative. Again, don't worry, I will show you what they look like. And we can change the call to action text. Now, if you change it here, whenever you use the click to tweet box, which might add fully supports Gutenberg, so it's it's brilliant. You just add it in. It will change the text throughout all instances of the block unless you manually edit it actually in Gutenberg itself. Okay, don't worry, it sounds confusing, but I will cover it. The call to action position, so that would be the actual text and the Twitter icon, which will either be right or left. Okay, so that's the click to tweet button covered. I told you it's probably going to be at 30 seconds to a minute. Next up, the floating bar. So if you're a fan of floating social icons, then Novashare is going to be of interest to you. They do work, floating social icons or social media buttons. They do stay with you. They're always there. So it's some blogs love to use them, some don't. I'm either or, really, to be honest with you, but it's nice to have the option as to whether or not to display them. Now, looking at the settings panel, we've got the enable the floating bar, and we can add post types such as posts or pages. Novashare does support custom post types as well, so I'm going to go over a little bit of that with you as well a little bit further down the line. Now, social networks, this is quite cool. Just by simply clicking on them, we can show buttons that we actually want to display, or we can display buttons. All of them's a bit overkill, if I'm being honest with you, but there's quite a few different ones on that you can choose from. Obviously, standard Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Buffer, Reddit, Pocket, WhatsApp, Tumblr. Quite a few different options there. I don't really want to activate every single one of these. I only really want to activate ones that would be relevant to me on my site. So I'd probably go for Twitter, Facebook, maybe email. Buffer's quite popular, but I can reorder them as well, which is really cool. So just by dragging and dropping, I can make Twitter the primary focus, then Facebook, then Buffer, then email. Okay, so that's the buttons. That's just basically picking and choosing what you want for the floating bar. Next up, you've got mobile breakpoint. Now, mobile breakpoints is, if you've got a responsive website, which you pretty much should have these days, the mobile breakpoint will hide the floating bar. I will tell you more about this, don't worry. So you can either hide above the breakpoint or hide below the breakpoint. Again, I'm going to cover that a little bit further because it's hard to talk about it without actually seeing it. Okay. We've also got a mobile max width size, so the actual max width of your your mobile page in pixels or px. Button size, we can have small, medium or large. Button shape, we can have squared, rounded or circular. And button color, this is really cool. We can choose a button color for for our social media icons. They'll all be that color. Obviously that color's rubbish. Get rid of that, and then button hover color, we can make it, I don't know, that. There you go. Again, not probably the best color combination going, but you can tinker with it. Here you can see the total share count, so you can enable or disable, and network share counts. When you hover over an icon, it will show you how many times how many times it's been shared. Okay, so that's the floating social bar. Again, some of these I will cover a little bit further down the line, but you really need to see it in action to see what I mean. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at inline content, so bear with us, I'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Now we're going to be looking at inline content, very similar in principle to the floating bar. The only difference obviously is this is going to be inline. So by inline it means actually in the post content itself, okay, or page content or whatever your post type is. So enable, disable, same thing again, drag and drop. Really like this feature, it's really quite cool. Button position, you can have above the content, below the content, above and below, or don't add to content. Don't add to content, you'd use a shortcode that's provided. The only thing I didn't really like with this is I couldn't see it so far, is there's nowhere where it tells you what the shortcode is unless you click on and go and find it. So it would have been nice to have a box underneath or something, use the following shortcode. Anyway, small little thing. Mobile breakpoint, hide above, that sort of stuff. We're going to go over that again, don't worry. I will show you it in practice. Button size, all the same sort of features before. Again, total share count, network share counts, that sort of thing. So all in all, Novashare is very, very easy to set up. I mean, ridiculously easy. Okay, the only problem you might have, or the only issue I can see, is probably the Facebook side of things, but following Novashare's tutorial, you should be right as rain, in fairness. Like I say, I haven't done it. I'm not a big Facebook user, but it's nice to have that function there if you are, and Facebook's a good source of traffic for you. Next up, I'm going to go through what it looks like in posts and show you all the different styles, above the content, below the content, that sort of thing. So I'll be back in a mo and we'll go through it step by step. Floating bars are very popular with a lot of blogs. They're a good way to keep the eye on the buttons when you scroll down content. So looking at this, I've activated Twitter, Facebook, Buffer and email. Those are just 4 that I think people potentially could use. So I'm going to hit save and go to my page, refresh that. So we've got the 4 buttons here. If we click there on Twitter, we can see we've got the page title, we've got the URL, and we've also got the handle. Again, if you want to follow me, it's at Ben's Right. Please do give us a follow. I'd appreciate it. Okay, that's enough. Okay, Facebook, same thing again. I'm not going to click on this because I don't really want to give out personal details too much. Buffer, same thing. If you click on email, I'm going to show you quickly now what happens. What happens is when you click on that, it'll open up the default browser email client of choice and simply paste in the URL ready for you to send. Now, great way for people who find content on your blog and want to share it with somebody else. Hey, have you seen this? And you can type in some text there and share it. Now, if you want to change the colors of these, as I mentioned earlier, you can do. So if we go down to select button color, let's make it purple. whatever color you want. Sorry, let's do that again. And we want the hover color to be yellow. I don't know why you'd want to do that. This is just an example. And if we hit refresh, you can see colors have changed. Now, if you wanted to add all of these buttons, why you would, I do not know. But if you did, you can do. So let's clear that. Let's clear that. Save that. And we're going to refresh this. This is madness, having all these at once. You wouldn't do that, and in practical terms, you just choose the actual ones that you want to display. Now, I'm going to change this again, and I want to show you what it would look like on a mobile screen, because I think this is important. Okay, let's save this. Go back, refresh. Okay, so this is basically a responsive view of the test site. You can see here the buttons follow you all the way down. They don't inhabit too much space, but again, we can change that if we want. So if we go to our settings, and we can change the button size to medium, save, and refresh that. There you go, a little bit smaller. Not so in your face, a little bit easier to understand. We can go smaller than that if you wished. You could go down to, we can change them to circular, and we can make them small. Save, and then there you go, nice and small. And then on the mobile screen, you can see, not too big, nice and simple, easy to use. That's floating social. Mobile breakpoints, this is where you can set the breakpoint to occur. So if you wanted to, if you're working on a set width with a website or something like that, you can change this down to whatever you need, and then you can hide them above the breakpoint or below the breakpoint. So if your mobile width, you know, if you want to go for 720 or something like that, you can change all these bits here, and the social icons will either, you know, hide above the breakpoint or below the breakpoint. So you've got options whether to show them or not, so to speak. So that's floating, so the floating bar, the floating social icons. Next up, I'm going to take a look at the inline content. So I'll be back in a minute. Next up, we're talking about, or I'm going to be talking about inline content. So this is actually in the post content itself, okay, or page content, or wherever you need to display the buttons. Now, I've got Twitter, Facebook, Buffer, and email, and I've got above content, and we can hide, again, we can hide those buttons if we need to, below or above certain breakpoint levels. I've got, like I say, I've got it in post types, and I've got above content. So let's have a look, see how that displays. I'm going to refresh this. So there you go, straight away at the top of the post. Now, what we can do if we wanted to is we can just do below content. So not so obvious, but they are there at the bottom. And we can do above and below content, which, to be honest with you, are good if you've got really long form content, like a really lengthy blog post, because it's there and there. On short form stuff like this, probably not so much. Now, if it's a case you've got short form content, or, you know, it's just an aside or a link or something like that, what you could do is you could put don't add to inline content, and then use the shortcode method to place it in there. Because if you set this here, above and below content, or, you know, whichever setting you've got, that'll go through to every single post. Okay, now there is something else that you can do which will eliminate that, and I will show you that in the actual post editor itself. But right now, as you can see, we've got above and below content. Let's use all the buttons again, just for a laugh. I'm doing this for fun. Let's add them all, and let's save. This is gonna look weird. Yeah, that's just wrong. it's not a fault of the plugin at all, it's just me messing around, but you know, putting them all on there is just crazy. I've also got a rounded effect on this, not a circular one, and the actual button size I believe is medium. So if you make it large, it'll look like a monster. Don't do that, obviously. I've also got total share counts and network share counts activated. You know, if the post gets shared and we've got connection with Twitter and Facebook and you know, that sort of thing, it will actually display the total share counts on there as well. Okay, so that's inline content. Next up, I want to go into the post editor itself, because some really cool features there that aren't really apparent in this section or any of these sections, which I think you know, a nice another tab highlighting you know, what you can do in a post editor would have been good, but you know, it's not to be, not a make or break thing. But it would have been nice to have had that. So next up, I'm going to take a look at the post editor, and I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to have a tinker around with some of these now, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So we've discussed inline content, we've discussed floating social icons or a floating social bar and configuration, that sort of thing. There's a few more things I want to show you. In particular, at the moment, we've got above and below content in our settings for Novashare. I'm just going to go to the settings for Novashare. There we go. So they live actually in settings, as you can see here. Now, we've enabled inline content for posts, which is exactly what I've just showed you, and we've got above and below content. Now, this is all well and good, but sometimes, just sometimes, if you've got short form content, like I said before, this is too much. Now, you could go with a floating social bar instead. That, you know, it's more prominent, it stands out more. Some people don't like them, some people do. It's, again, you're only going to know your visitors, and you can test and use floating or use inline, completely up to you. Now, if you just wanted to use a shortcode and completely and utterly stop showing these, what you could do is, if you go to do not add to content, save changes, and if you go to your post page, and we want to add a new block in here, so I'm going to type in shortcode, and I'm going to paste a shortcode. This will show inline content. Okay, it will show it in this particular section. So if I go to update and click here, you can see the shortcode's been added. Good if you're using short form content. You don't want it above and below. If you're using long form content, you probably want to put them back in again at the top. So what you could do is you could duplicate. Just imagine this was a long form piece of content, and then update. See if that works. Yeah. So you could save this as a reusable block. And add to reusable blocks, and we'll call it sharing, and then save. And then I'm going to remove block, and then if you want to add in sharing block, it's there. So useful if you want to get around this with short form content, but you must remember to have this button or button position selected, don't add to content, okay? Because if you do add and below, above and below content, or above, you're going to get duplicate instances of what's going on, of the actual icons themselves, okay? Now, another cool feature what I want to show you is the Novashare details. Now, this is really quite cool, and it's something I think a lot of people could utilize. Here we've got a social media image, so it gives us a specific size as well, 1200 pixels by 630 pixels, so we can upload a different image as opposed to our featured image. Now, the reason you might want to do this is if it's being shared on Twitter or being shared on Facebook or any other platform, having a different image with a stronger call to action or something like that could help your blog content go a little bit more viral, get more shares and get more people clicking on it, and so on and so forth. And the same with the social media title. You can make it catchier, make it sexier, anything to get people's attention, along with description as well. Pinterest has its own set of rules, different image size, 800 pixels by 1200, and a different upload box, another upload box for an image for Pinterest, and a Pinterest title. It will still take the custom description, but the title will be different for Pinterest. Really cool if you want to add different images, or if you're running a food blog, fashion blog, or any kind of blog where imagery is key. Having these options here could really help. Now, I know there's a lot of SEO plugins or search engine optimization plugins that kind of do this for you. I know Yoast has got options. I know the SEO framework. I know Rank Math has options as well. But if you're not using any of those, or even if you're not using an SEO plugin, there are options here for you to change them. So if you imagine putting a GIF in there or something like that, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on this. I'm going to show you some quick little tricks that you can use. We can also hide the inline content and hide the floating bar. Great for short form content, or just where you don't want to share the buttons at all. So it's quite useful to have that functionality on a per post, per page, or custom post type basis. Next up, I want to cover these a little bit more, and I'm going to show you some examples of what you can do. Back in a minute. Okay, so I've added some slightly different images to this post in particular, and I've used Canva to create some animated GIFs that are preset. I've just created something very quickly. If you've not used Canva, go and try it out. It's really good. I use it all the time. It's on canva.com. Okay, so I've uploaded an image, and I've given it a title. I've also given it a description. I've also uploaded a Pinterest image and a test title for Pinterest as well. Okay, so what does it look like? Well, there is a tool that you can use called socialsharepreview.com, and I've just inputted my my URL, and that's what it looked like on Facebook. This is what it looked like on Twitter. You notice the description, test title, and the same for LinkedIn. LinkedIn doesn't really use the test title, the description that much, and Pinterest is slightly different. So I've actually used Pinterest itself. So I've added in the URL, but what I have noticed is it hasn't taken the correct image there, because this is slightly different. This one, it was actually more vertical as opposed to wide as horizontal. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, this is what the pen would look like. So I'm going to add your title. I'm just going to call it hello. See if it makes any difference. And then save. Create board. Test. Create. Save. See what happens. See it now. Saved. And it doesn't like the image for some reason. I don't know why that. There we go. Just took its time to come up. Anyway, what I was saying is the image here doesn't really work too well. So what you could do is, I think, probably drop that. So if I drop that, I wonder what's going to happen. Let's try it. So if I get rid of that, update the post, and then go back to. I haven't used Pinterest in blooming ages, I must admit. I just want to share okay. Add destination link. Okay. Let's see what happens now. That's a pin. Okay, so it does work even if you take out the image, but it's taking it from here as opposed to there. Okay, it's not a make or break. It's good to know, that's for sure. But yeah, as you can see, you could create something really quite cool as a call to action for your social media posts or for Twitter and that sort of thing. So you could put a GIF in there or anything really. I don't know about an MP4. I could probably try testing the MP4. I mean, you know, let us know in the comments or something like that. I'm not sure if that would work, but it'd be interesting to see for sure. But it's a useful feature nonetheless, despite this not working as it should. Next up, I want to cover the click to tweet box, because I think that's something else that could be of real benefit to you as a fellow blogger. So I'm going to disappear, and I'll be back in a minute with some more info on the click to tweet box. Welcome back. Now I'm going to cover the click to tweet box and how we can use it, what it looks like, and that sort of thing. So if we click here and we want to add our Novashare box in, if you can't find it, all you have to do is type in Novashare click to tweet. Simple as that. Okay. Now, selecting this box and the block itself, we've got default blue background, simple transparent background, simple alternate grey. So if we want to put in a description here, you go, hi, this is my tweet. Please free to share it. Lacking imagination today, I tell you. Okay, and a call to action text. We want to put, hey, tweet me. Also, what you can do here is you can remove the URL or remove the username and hide hashtags. So if we put hashtag WordPress, hashtag review, hashtag, just for a laugh, and we update that. Now, if we have a look at our post, this is the box in all its glory. So if we click, you notice the hashtags are gone. If we click, hey, tweet me, hey, this is my tweet, please feel free to share it, puts a URL in there, also puts the hashtags as well, and also the handle, which is quite useful. The only thing I can see at the moment, which I think is a little bit of an issue, is that the default blue background isn't working. It's practically the same as, yeah, the simple alternative background. Let me just check our settings to see if I've got something wrong here. I probably have. No, and it's probably my fault, but it's worth noting. Click to tweet, default, save. And let's refresh this. Ooh, let's update it. Refresh it. I wonder if it's my fault. Ah, there we go. That's why. It's because I had a default setting. So remember, whatever you choose in the click to tweet box will be the default. So I had it obviously set simple. So if you choose default, then you've got more choice here. Default blue background. There you go. There you go. Much better. So we can change the text and all that sort of thing. Obviously, you're going to have different ideas about the click to tweet box in terms of color schemes. What's going to stand out, what's not. But as you can see here, it stands out quite nicely with the blue one. Also worth noting, it takes the default text size here and font as well. So if you want to remove the URL, remove the username, you can do. Simply update and refresh it. Click the tweet box. Still got hashtags, but we've got no username, we've got nothing. Really useful feature this. I've started using it on LayerWP.com, and it's actually really useful, especially if you're doing interviews or something like that, where you have some text that's really quite prominent, or it's quite informative. You could always add it into this box and get people to tweet it. And if you keep your username obviously you get notified of the fact that somebody's actually taken the opportunity to tweet. We can also change the position of the tweet. I quite like it on the right, stands out more. I think it gets a little bit lost over here, but it's really useful. Now, there's something else I want to cover with you as well. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. If I'm boring the hell out of you, please leave a comment and let me know. But I want to test something out. I've had an idea while I was doing this, and I think it might be useful to people who run online stores. So I'm going to disappear and I'm going to install WooCommerce, because I think this could potentially be quite useful for promoting products on your online store. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I've gone away and I've installed WooCommerce because I think it could be beneficial to people to see how Novashare could be utilized from a social sharing perspective at the product level. Now, I've installed it in the background and I've gone back to my Novashare settings, and what I told you about post types, you'll see there's a new one for products. So we can enable or disable, and I've still got don't add to content on there. So save the changes, and I'm in at the product level. Okay, this is where it can get really interesting, and I'm going to show you why in a second. If we add in a tweet box, let's just say we'll put it at the top. Let's add a click to tweet, and we want to put I think what should we put? Share this product on Twitter, receive 10% off. Call to action texts. See if that works. I don't know. We'll try it. Again, this is the whole point of a review. We're going to insert that short code, and I'm going to update it. Let's take a look at the product. Okay. For some reason, it doesn't like it. That's very strange. I don't know if there's any issues around that. Novashare tweet equals very strange indeed. Okay, let's try the same thing. Let's try it in the short description. Share me on Twitter. Share Twitter and get 10% off. Let's put count me in again. There we go. Right, let's update that. Let's refresh. Okay, very strange how it's now all of a sudden working. Okie dokie. Let's get rid of that one anyway. Let's update. Okay, if I was going to put this sort of thing, I'd probably put it under the product at the top anyway. It's good to know that it's a little bit weird inside the product description, but if you clicked on this, share this product on Twitter and get 10% off, and it's put the product URL in there, and it's put the tag in there as well. So, well, the Twitter handle. So I know if this person has shared this product, I can get in touch with them, maybe create a new follower or follow them, send them a voucher via WooCommerce for 10% off. So it's a good little marketing tool for, you know, getting others to market your products for you, I suppose. Let your visitors become your marketeers, so they do it for you. And the result, the win for them is 10% off, 5% off, you know, or whatever you decide. So it's good to be able to do that. Shame it didn't work in here, but in fairness, I'm not defending the plugin. If I had to put a box in, I'd put it there. I wouldn't put it there at all. Now, I've actually got something I did earlier. Okay, Novashare. See, I've put the Novashare inline content shortcode in there. And I've got some different text there as well. So I'm going to update this. I just wanted to see if it would work with emojis. Let's have a look. Yeah, it does. Cool. So click to tweet. Got the emojis in there as well. And our Twitter handle as well. And we've also got some nice inline sharing buttons there as well. The reason why I've put these as a shortcode here is when they're put into the actual body, they look a little bit messy. I'll show you what I mean. Is if I put above content and I save the changes and then I go in, it just doesn't work there. For me personally, I'd have maybe a call to action here for a discount, and then I'd have inline shortcode in the actual short description itself. That way it just looks tidier, it looks cleaner, and it's a great way to get more people to share your product. Okay, next up I'm going to be taking a look at page speed. Obviously, does it really only add 5 kilobytes? Now, to do this properly, I've got to uninstall WooCommerce, get rid of all traces of it, and just use a actual physical blog post, test with Pingdom, and see if that 5 kilobyte really does stack up. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Hi, welcome back. I wanted to show you the actual plugin before it was installed, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Probably not. Right, you can see the URL here. I've got a demo on a shared host because I know not everybody can afford a managed WordPress hosting solution. On a shared host, will this plugin work? Will it be, will it still be quick? Yeah, but we don't know until we test it and we try it. So you can see here I've got no plugins at all. I'm just going to refresh this. This is the test site, so you can see it. And this is a test post. I'm just going to refresh this. Okay. So I'm going to just paste this into the bar there. I'm just going to run the test. Hopefully we'll be number 1. I don't want to keep you waiting too long. You just want to see what happens. So here, like I say, we've got nothing going on. It's just a bog standard blog post with a standard comment that comes with your installation of WordPress. Okay, here we go. Results. Page size currently is 119 kilobytes. Okay, so it's quite a small page in terms of page size. Load times and that sort of thing I'm not too bothered about at the moment, mainly because I don't have any caching plugins installed. I just want to know what the additional load is going to be when you use and install the Novashare plugin. So I'm going to disappear and I'm going to install it, and I'm going to come back and retest and show you what the additional load is. See you in a bit. Welcome back. So we know that prior to Novashare being installed, the actual speed was 119 kilobytes. So I've actually got it on the page here. I've got just these 4 icons here. I want to see how fast it is. So I'm going to do that and wait for that to load. I don't have any other settings on floating social. I don't have a click to tweet box in there. I'm probably going to do another test afterwards with absolutely everything to see if that really does make a difference. Okay, it's almost done. Sorry about the wait, folks. Tell of the tape time, drum roll, and it's 124.5 kilobytes, which is minus 119, let's get exact, is actually 5.5 kilobytes. I'm sorry, I had to use a calculator then, I'm not the best at maths. So the claim of under 5 kilobytes is, isn't 100% accurate. Of course, it's probably going to depend on other elements as well, like caching and that sort of thing. But really, 5.5 kilobytes, I mean, that is super lightweight as it is. I mean, it really is very lightweight. Okay, let's take another look at this, and let's put the floating social bar on there. Let's put above and below content. Let's save those changes. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another speed test, and I'm going to use all the buttons and just see what, just out of curiosity, what exactly will happen. Okay, so I'll see you back in a sec. Okay, I don't know why I've done this. I just thought I'd do it for a laugh. I've enabled every single button going. I've done it on the floating bar, and I've also done it above and below the content as well. And you can see it in action here. I've just set a page speed test to see what happens. I'm fed up with waiting for it, but you can see all the buttons are in there. Okay. About 10 kilobytes. That's it. That is it for total amount of buttons above and below is that. Now, as I said to you, I did test out the Social Pug plugin a minute ago. I'm not going to post about that because it's not about that. But their page speed was roughly about that, with just 5 or 6 buttons in the floating section and there. So, and bearing in mind that the Social Pug plugin offers a premium service as well, that is quite incredulous, really, for that amount of buttons. As I say, you're never going to do this, but from a page size side of things, it's yeah, that's pretty amazing, really. Thoroughly impressed with that. Okay, next up is going to be my verdict, and well, find out whether or not it's worth purchasing. I'll also talk about pricing, that sort of stuff as well. So I'll see you in the verdict. Okay, it's verdict time. Is Novashare probably the lightest social sharing plugin going? I'd probably say yes. Yes, it is. Although the claim of 5 kilobytes is neither here nor there. The test I did is 5.5. Whichever way you spin it, that is still an incredibly lightweight social sharing plugin. That's the problem you've got with a lot of social media plugins for WordPress. It's all bloat. And you know, and I know, or if you don't know, page speed is a critical value to search engines. They don't want to serve up slow loading content. What I love about Novashare is the speed for a start. I like to be able to reorder and drag and drop and only enable buttons that I like, that I want to display. I like to be able to hide the mobile menu. I like the Twitter count section, being able to use Twit count as a tool. I like being able to hide the total share count if it's below a certain minimum, which is great. I like the features that it's got, really. I like the accessibility that it's got, which is great for people who use screen readers. From a visitor perspective, the fact that the buttons scale quite nicely on mobile is good. The fact you can hide them on a per post basis is brilliant. The fact that you can change at the post level your imagery for social sharing is brilliant. You could also do that in WooCommerce. I forgot to mention, you can upload a social sharing image for WooCommerce, so you could have a voucher code or something in there. That would be really cool to share on Twitter, Facebook, that sort of stuff. All in all, absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant. It has got its foibles. One of the things I didn't like was obviously the WooCommerce side of things, but that's a minor niggle. I would have liked to have seen the ability to align these to the left, center, or right, because I think everybody's got their own aesthetic when it comes to showing social media buttons, and they like it to flow quite nicely with their post. I think, to be honest with you, if you're looking to part some cash and pay for a decent plugin that's not going to cost you the earth, then I think you do very well to take Novashare for a spin. Pricing wise, there's 3 different tiers. You've got the one site personal license, which is $29.95. The unlimited license, as many sites as you like, and the 3 sites, which is the business license, for $69.95 per year. Okay, they all come with 1 year of premium support and updates, and they've also got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, a plugin's only as good as the future of it. Now, I know that Brian and Brett have worked on Perf Matters. I know it's grown exponentially, so I could see this doing very well for itself indeed. But let's have a look at the feature requests. Here's some of the features that they're thinking of integrating or that are under discussion. So they're looking at custom hook options for inline content button display. They're looking at adding an SMS share button, automatic social pop-up and scroll. These are all under discussion, but it's nice to see that they're having these discussions and there is, potential for making the plugin even better than it is. If you take a quick look at the changelog, there's loads of bits and pieces that they've worked on, they've implemented, so they're always trying to make it better, which is brilliant. It's good to see. The last thing you want to do is spend money on a plugin and it disappears into the ether. I don't see that happening with Novashare. Support-wise, excuse me, documentation is there. If you ever get stuck with any element of it, you can always refer back to the documentation. Or, you could send a support request if you're having great difficulty. In fairness, I haven't had an issue, save for the one that I've mentioned earlier with WooCommerce. But again, asking the guys, the developers, to create a plugin that works with absolutely every little nuanced plugin or of WordPress is asking a huge amount. Hopefully they'll see the video, see the issue that I had, and can rectify it. Other than that, definitely recommend Novashare. Underneath the video itself, there's 2 links. I always do this, and I do this in the post, the review post, the written review post. I give you the option. There's 2 links. There's one to click to purchase Novashare, or to view more about it, which is an affiliate link. Completely up to you to use that. That supports me and that supports the blog, so I can buy more plugins or do more things to LayerWP.com. The other link isn't an affiliate link. No harm, no foul. I don't expect you to support me, but if you would, that would be great. And obviously, there's a link in the description for the written review of this blog, of the Novashare plugin, and also ways to follow me on Twitter. I hope you've enjoyed my first ever review, and appreciate you for sticking around and listening to my boring, inane old voice. Until next time, take care, and I hope to do more of these reviews. Take it easy. See ya.